Shimano EP8 versus the older Shimano E8000. How do they stack up? Let's go find out. Raiders, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes and... Sorry riders, the sound was terrible. Guns were firing in the background, people were talking, so I thought I'd do it again. In this episode, we are looking at the new Shimano EP8 motor and how it stacks up against the older E8000. So what we know about the new Shimano EP8 motor is it has 15 Newton meters more power, it's 300 grams lighter, but I really want to know what the real world differences are. So we're doing this back-to-back test. And I'm doing the test with Nick. He's on my old Decoy, which has an E8000 motor and a 540 watt battery. And obviously I'm on the new Commensal SX with the EP8 motor and a 630 watt battery. Both bikes have 180 suspension up front, 165 at the back, both running on 27 wheels, and both have Schwalbe 2.6 tires. So both bikes have been set to absolute max on the boost setting. We're gonna ride the bikes only in boost. We're gonna do a short hill climb test, a long hill climb test, a noise test, and a feeling test, and an overall conclusion at the end of the video. But before we get into the test, a massive shout out for Schwalbe, the new partner at Sam's Bikes. If you're thinking about getting a new set of e-bike tires, definitely check out the Eddy Currents front and back, or at the moment I'm really enjoying the Magic Mary front 2.6 and a 2.4 Big Betty. And also a Merry Christmas to every rider out there. I hope you're enjoying some nice downtime with the family and getting out on the e-bikes. Now onto the test at my local trails in Pardo. We're about to do a hill climb test, and it's not going to be a fitness test, it's just going to be a test on how fast we can get up. And we're off. So the rules are you can't get out of the seat. It's just really, I don't think the EP8 has Bentifinco. First impression.
I find it the same.
I mean, Nick's just got on it. Nick's been riding for 3 months. And he said the same as me, like the Shimano's saying it's got 85 Newton meters, the new one, and the old one's 70, 75. I don't feel any more power. Okay, and we're off. And my initial feeling is it doesn't have any more. So this is me max. It's a longer hill climb on the Commensal. Obviously we're in boost. And I just want to see, this is full stick, flat stick. This is a climb I do a lot of the time. I just really want to see on a longer climb how much difference it is. I would say one of the first things I noticed when getting on the EP8, I didn't feel really much more power. Hence why I'm out here busting my balls testing this. So it seems like 18, 19 is my limit now. And my legs are burning, lactic acid's building up as we come around the corner.
Okay, so that was the hill climb test, and I actually did take out some of the boring stuff, and it was 11 seconds faster on just under a 2-minute hill climb. So as you can see, the EP8 does have a little bit more.
So I'm now on Nick's bike, my old Decoy, which is still my bike actually. And just doing a little ride around, just to kind of see what I noticed different on the bike. Straight out of the gate, definitely noisier. Definitely noisier. But I would say the feeling of the motor is not that different. But definitely on the downhill it's different. It is kind of nicer not having that little clunk, even though the clunk isn't that annoying. It's definitely a positive for the E8000. Definitely noticing when I take the pressure off the cranks, there's a little bit of follow through, which the EP8 doesn't have. So when you take power off the EP8, it instantly cuts off and disengages. So now I just want to go and show you. So This is under load. So we're going uphill a little bit in boost. And the sound coming from the motor is this. Okay, so now I'm on the decoy on the E8000 in boost, and it's under load, we're climbing, and this is the sound. All right, as the test is done, and I want to break it down in these categories: feel, range, sound, appearance, and how the EP8 and the E8000 compare to other motors on the market. But first, let's have a chat with the Aussie punter, Nick. So what did you notice most about the new one or the old one?
I think the new one, when we're just riding normally, just going up and down, just normal tracks, I found them pretty similar. I just noticed one difference when we're going up really steep hill climbs. With the old one, with my one, with the duck, it was almost like I couldn't make it, but you just keep pushing and pushing and you make it. With the new one, I just felt it just had a little bit more oomph just on the end. On just real steep ones, still steep hill climbs. But the rest, just riding around, I found them pretty similar.
And what about the noise? Did the quieter motor? Is that something that you would invest in? Do you think it's a benefit?
At this stage, no. I'm pretty happy with what I got. I thought it would be a little bit more of a difference, but I find the old Shimano is really nice. But I mean, the only other difference I find is that they've fitted it really nicely into the bike.
Definitely, it looks cleaner. Definitely looks cleaner.
Thanks, Nico. And now onto the feel of the EP8.
The EP8 is a great feeling motor. It's very, very natural. But for me, the E8000 was very natural as well. And if I'm 100% honest, as soon as I hopped on the EP8, if I wasn't listening to the sound, I didn't notice that much difference in the feel of the motor. But there's definitely a few things that are better. When you're pedaling the EP8 and you stop, the motor instantly stops, which I really like, because if you're doing like technical hill climbing, it's very responsive. And on the E8000, there's like a half crank follow through, which can be a little bit dangerous when you're doing technical hill climbs. And also, definitely when you go above that limiter, so above 25 kilometers in Europe, it is much more seamless. And the fact that the motor is quieter, it is a very seamless sort of disengagement, and it's a much lighter motor. It's like, it doesn't have any drag whatsoever, or very minimal drag. So definitely better in the EP8 here above the 25k limiter. And also in the boost setting, when you're really going hard up a hill, I felt that the delivery to the rear wheel was smoother and less jerky, which resulted in less wheel spin. But riders, I really had to look for these differences. As soon as you hop on the bike, it's not apparent that it's that much different. Range. So Nick was on the Duck with the 540, which has about a year, and I was on the brand new Commencer with a 630. We did around 30 kilometers, and we used boost the whole time. And every time we used 1 bar of power, we sung out. And it seemed like Nick was using a bar about 10 to 15 minutes earlier than I was using mine on the EP8. I don't think the EP8 really is that much more efficient on battery use.
I just want to add in an extra note that it is early days of testing on the EP8, but that's what I've found so far. Now onto the sound.
The sound on the new EP8 is a massive improvement. So when you're an eco trailer boost, it's pretty damn quiet. But everyone would know that it's been reported that when you are going downhill, there is like a clunking sound coming from the motor. For me, in the Commencer, it's actually not a problem. I've actually paired it with an Industry 9 rear hub, which gives you kind of that ratchet sound. And for me, it's definitely not a problem. But it is an aluminium frame, but I have heard that sound can be worse in a carbon frame. And it really depends on what type of rider you are. Going uphill, the EP8 kills the E8000, definitely. It's almost silent. But going downhill, the E8000 doesn't have that rattle. So the E8000 wins for going downhill. Appearance, the EP8 is a much better looking motor. It integrates better with the bikes, it's smaller, and that means there's more ground clearance. So in result, we can get those bottom brackets a little bit lower, which will give a better ride. And also it's far more tunable. You got 2 profile settings. I don't really use the apps very much. I set them and forget them. But if you are the type of person that likes to tune their bike for different rides and riding with different people, definitely the EP8 wins. Power. The new EP8 has 85 Newton meters and the old E8000 has 70. I didn't really notice the extra power. Maybe it's because the EP8 delivers it smoother. So we did 2 hill climb tests, one 25 seconds and the other 2 minutes. And the EP8 was faster in both, 1.5 seconds in the short hill climb and 11 seconds in the longer hill climb. So not a lot of difference. And let's be honest, you're probably not gonna do a 2-minute hill climb and boost because you're gonna drain that battery.
Comparison.
So how does the EP8 compare to other motors on the market? I think Shimano have done a great job and definitely an improvement over the E8000. But if you're looking for a race bike or some serious power, you're going to be looking at the Bosch or the Bros. The Shimano is not as powerful in my opinion. But if you've been riding e-bikes for a while, you will know it's not about the power, because on a 2 to 3 hour ride, you can only be sitting in boost for about 10 or 15 minutes of the ride, or you're going to drain through that battery. And the $1 million question, the most asked question on the channel at the moment, should I spend my hard-earned cash on an old E8000 or wait for a new EP8? As we know, there's a massive shortage of e-bikes at the moment on the market. And I'm gonna say, if you can get a good deal on an E8000, I'd be wanting like 20-25% discount off. I'm gonna say definitely go for an E8000. I'd be getting what you can get right now. And I think the EP8 is a better motor, but it doesn't make the E8000 redundant or obsolete. I still think it's a great motor in 2021. And my overall opinion of the EP8, it's definitely better in every way against the older E8000. Well, apart from the rattle, which in my experience is not a deal breaker at all. But if I'm honest, I was a little bit disappointed, not because the EP8 is bad, just because 4 years ago, the E8000 was an absolute brilliant motor and still is. I was just expecting a little bit more. And maybe we're gonna see a firmware update like Bosch did this year and give it a little bit more power. But my number one wish for an e-bike right now is more range and less power. I personally think 60 or 70 Newton meters is enough. But if we can get more range and have those batteries smaller and lighter, that is my wish. Anyway, riders, I am still testing the EP8. Please, if you have any questions, hit me up. I reply to everyone. And I really hope everyone's having a great Christmas and New Year out there. I'm still working because I need to bring out that video once a week like I always do on e-bike content. So riders, if you have not subscribed, please do so. And stay safe out there, and I'll see you next week.